So why are we here today? This event is called What Matters to Me and Why for Alumni. Well, What Matters to Me and Why is a program that explores the dynamics of learning relationships and how mentorship has profoundly impacted some of the very distinguished alumni, and we have 188,000 alumni, 188,000 anteaters across the world. We've grown considerably over our first 52 years, and we're just getting bigger. But we're very fortunate because we have some very, very interesting alumni who come back and want to share their experiences, share their wisdom, and share just some of their unique perspective and personalities. And tonight we're going to have a very, I can say confidently, we have a very interesting and dynamic alumnus here tonight. So let me do a couple of introductions. The gentleman you're going to be hearing from tonight, hold your applause until I can introduce them both. But I'll start with our distinguished moderator, and that would be Jeff Ward. Jeff is an associate professor of criminology, law, and society here at UCI. His research examines socio-historical relationships between race, crime, and justice. Author of The Black Child Savers, Racial Democracy and Juvenile Justice, which is an award-winning book of the rise, fall, and complex remnants of Jim Crow's juvenile justice. He's working on a new project which examines historical racial violence, its contemporary legacies, and transitional justice remedies today, which is amazing and fascinating to me. Our other distinguished guest is going to be our featured alumnus, and that would be Dion Shepherd Jr. Dion is a social ecology alumnus. He received his master's here in 2016. He is a volunteer member of the Young Alumni Council, which is a group of some of our best and brightest alumni who want to dedicate their time, those who have graduated within the past 10 years, to help our alumni engagement strategic plan. So we're very lucky to work with Dion. You've seen his bio as you signed up. I'm hoping that's one of the reasons that you did sign up. He was part of a A&E undercover documentary called 60 Days In. If I ask you to raise your hand if you've done this before, I'm sure we're only going to have one hand in the room go up. How many people have volunteered to go to jail before? Okay, thanks for confirming that theory. Dion is also trained as a bounty hunter on Dog and Beth on the Hunt. I said dynamic. He established the Justice League Consulting Group to assist former inmates in finding jobs and acclimating back into society. So without further ado, please give me a round of applause for our two guests, and they'll take over the program.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. I'm struck by this anteater because my 2-year-old is terrified, 3-year-old now, terrified by Peter the anteater, which is logical, really, if you think about it, for a 3-year-old. But it's great to be here with you, Dion, and with all of you. You know, I guess I want to start by just remembering that we met. Must have been a year and a half ago or something.
Graduation day.
Yeah, when you were graduating from the M.A.S. program, which I want you to say a bit more about. But I was at the table with you and your family celebrating that occasion, and other families celebrating that graduation, and we just really struck up a connection. And I was impressed by your energy and your ambition. And so when I got an email saying, would you be interested in moderating a conversation with Dion now a year or so later, and learning about what you've been doing since, I was really excited and impressed. Maybe you could start off by saying a bit more about what you studied at UCI, and then we'll get into sort of where that led you.
Okay, I joined the M.A.S. program. I did my master's in criminology, law, and society in the School of Social Ecology, because I had did my undergrad in criminal justice, so I had seen this program, and then I had did a little bit more research on UCI, and I was like, oh, I got to join this program. pretty dope. I started looking at some of the people who came from the program and some of the professors, and I read some of their books in my undergrad. So it just made sense for me to be a part of this criminology, law, and society program and become an anteater.
So for people who haven't heard of the program, M.A.S stands for the Masters in Advanced Studies of Criminology, Law, and Society, and it's a program that was originally developed to support kind of early to mid-career professionals who were looking to kind of advance their careers. And one of the things we noticed, though, is that it's attracted increasingly a kind of younger cohort of students who are embarking on careers and sort of figuring out what direction they're going to go in, and it's a resource for them to do that. I wonder if you could say a bit about how the decisions you made about kind of where to go in your career, including the Justice League consulting group, how were those informed by, facilitated by your time at UCI?
Ooh. So when I first got to UCI, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was working as a bounty hunter for like a year and a half in Michigan, and then I ended up coming out to California once I got accepted into the master program, and I wanted to do kind of the same thing, but it just wasn't my style anymore. And so like I started like reaching out to some of my professors, and I had some advisors that my master program put me with that I was able to talk with and communicate with on a weekly basis, and it kind of just started helping me shape some of my decisions more, because in my undergrad I didn't really have, like, we had advisors, but it wasn't really too intimate conversations that you can have with your advisor. So once I got to UCI, I was able to have me an advisor that worked directly with me and would just check up on me on emails and see how I was doing. And it was just so many different resources that I started getting from UCI that I never seen before in universities. Because like a lot of times being at Western Michigan University, it was just too many people. And so you wouldn't get that right amount of knowledge that you needed. It was more so just being rushed. And here I was able to sit down and talk for hours. And I can talk a lot too sometimes. My advisor would be like, all right, Dion, let's shut it down a little bit, man. We're going on 2-3 hours. But like I was able to get some real deep help on how I wanted to do my life. And I started seeing other things from some of the professors that I wanted to do, whether it was like some of the teaching portions that they did. I wanted to incorporate some of that into what I wanted to do. I didn't per se want to become a teacher or anything, but I wanted to start like educating people and passing on knowledge that I have. And I learned that from a lot of my professors at UCI and just some of the tools that I got from being inside the program.
So maybe at this point you should say a little bit more about what your objectives are with the work you're doing now, and kind of how you're approaching that work, just to give people some context on where things have gone. And then I want to come back to some of the influences that you've mentioned, including the importance of mentorship, which is, I think, really important to talk about. I was just talking with a couple of students before we started, and I think it's really important to talk more about mentorship in the real way you're talking about it, as opposed to just kind of directing people to mentors. But say a bit more about the work you're doing now, the ambitions you have in this work you're doing.
So I'm doing a lot of work with community and correction reform. So when I had did the 60 Days In project, the research that we had got for it, they actually using it to reform some of the jail, some of the culture and the environment inside of the jail, with the social side of it, to where like it don't cost a lot of money. It's just little simple things that they can make tweaks to the culture inside of the jail to kind of help out. So now that's what more of my research is kind of gearing towards. I want to start helping inmates being able to reintegrate back into life. And I'm also working with my community back in Detroit to help out with affordable housing also and build some of the people up, because we want to promote more home ownership. So that's part of like my social justice reform that I want to do. It just go into helping out the community, which I want to go back to Detroit and help out. And I also want to help some of these disadvantaged youth, because that's the biggest thing. Is you might go to jail and you get labeled as a criminal, especially when you're young, and it's hard to kind of get out of that label. Once you get that label on, and that's one thing I want to help out with, is see if we can kind of decriminalize being a criminal when you young, so you can be able to kind of live your life, because a lot of times we do make mistakes in life, and it's like, how do we get back from that? And so that's where a lot of my work is kind of going into, my efforts to push towards seeing how can we kind of get rid of that labeling, that negative labeling of people who are incarcerated and who go through tough times.
Related to that, I wonder if you might say a bit about the journey that got you to this point. I mean, we've talked about UCI, you've mentioned Western Michigan, but your life didn't start there, and these aspirations didn't start there, I imagine. Say a bit more about the journey that led you to becoming the person you are today, the social entrepreneur, the innovator, the person committed to social justice.
Ooh, I wonder if we got time for that. It's been a long journey. Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and I seen a lot of things just growing up with just family issues and just being out with friends and family in the environment that we lived in. It was a little bit rougher than a lot of other other communities, and it kind of like it clicked in my head that I didn't want to be a part of this anymore, and I was hating myself for like not wanting to be a part of my community. And then as I got older, I started to just see like, okay, maybe I can help out. Maybe I can start doing something. And then I thought I can become a police officer or something. And then I started to notice I didn't want to be a police officer or go into law enforcement or anything. So that's when I started, like high school, it started clicking with me to, okay, Dion, you got to start like chilling. You gotta start relaxing, because I was in Detroit, we was having fun, and you get to do a lot of dumb stuff when you're a kid. So a lot of that dumb stuff kind of started making me realize that, okay, you gotta start slowing down. You gotta stop hanging out with certain people, and you gotta stop doing certain things. So I just started seeing that like progression over time. Once I got to high school, you start getting sick of just seeing the same thing over and over, and seeing your family go through the same thing over, whether it's going in incarceration, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's just not being a productive citizen. And so like it just started clicking with me as I got older. And once I hit my senior year, I knew I wanted to go to a university. And it wasn't like it was the hardest thing ever to get into a university first, because if you don't have money and financial aid kind of play you a little bit. So, you only get half of the money for your funding, and you got to kind of figure it out. But I was able to figure that out, and once I got that done, I got in there, and I started studying criminal justice. It was just like, it blew my mind, because it was everything I seen when I was growing up, and it started putting labels and names on it. So some of the things I seen people reacting, whether it was some of my uncles who was drug addicts and some of my people who went to jail and was incarcerated, I was able to just see some of the, the labels that they put on it, and some of the reasoning and understanding a little bit more on why they were being drug addicts or why they kept being incarcerated. I started seeing a lot of that through my criminal justice research and just school, and so it was fascinating. I was like, oh, damn, okay, yeah, I seen my cousin got locked up. Okay, that's why he got locked up. All right, he had a bad childhood, or, you might go into the labeling theory, and I was just able to start putting some of those theories that some of these social psychologists kind of put out there to where it just started making sense to me, and I started getting a bigger picture of like what I wanted to do. I wanted to work from outside of the criminal justice system and see if I could start influencing some of the policies that's being brought on, or just some of the communities, if it wasn't even in the, affecting some of the lawmaking decisions. I wanted to do something where I can help out the community. So I started working with Sequel Youth Service, and I ended up becoming a program director after starting there my sophomore year as an intern. And I worked up, and it was basically working with disadvantaged youth who was placed there. It was a juvenile placement. And working with those youth, it was like the biggest therapy I ever had. Like, some of the kids was placed there from the jail, and some kids was placed there by their parents. But just talking to them and seeing some of their stories, it was able to actually help me figure out some things that was going on in my life, talking to an 11-year-old, 12-year-old who done went through a rough life, or done had, a lot of things going on that usually don't happen to 11-year-old. It kind of just helped me start seeing different perspectives that was going on in that. Oh, y'all just not bad kids. It's like, it's things that's to that built up that you wasn't able to cope with and you wasn't able to deal with. So it started giving me a whole like a nostalgic feeling just working with the kids, and I did it for about 4 years. And then I just knew I had to like do something else after that, after working with those youth. And I kind of got my own therapy sessions, because in my neighborhood, going to therapy is like the last thing that you're gonna do. Everybody think you crazy or something. It's like, no, sometimes you might just need to express yourself, get something out that you've been holding in. And just working with those youth, it just really like showed me what I wanted to do in my life. And I started building a big passion for working with youth and also adults. I didn't want to like just make it to where I just work with kids. I wanted to see how I can help some of the adults, because most of my family are older people, and a lot of them are they going through that same cycle with, just going in and out of jail and being addicted to drugs. I wanted to figure out how can I help them also. So I started, looking more into, seeing how you can help adults with coping skills, because kids, they just younger adults. So those coping skills can transfer over. So I started like utilizing some of those in some of my speaking and some of my research that I was doing while I was in school, and it just started shaping my ideas and how I wanted to do it. And that's why I came up with Justice League Consulting Group. And undergrad, I was working with Dog the Bounty Hunter. I had emailed him every single day for 3 weeks, like 3 times a day. It got kind of weird after a while, but I was like, maybe he'd give me an internship. I was just looking for different ways that I can work in the criminal justice field. So I started reaching out to just different entertainment companies, different public figures, to see how can I get my way in it. And I emailed probably over like 7 or 8 different public figures who work in the criminal justice field. And so like Dog the Bounty Hunter was the first one to hit me back. He called me after like 3 weeks and was like, dude, you filling up my inbox. And I was like, I'm thinking it's one of my frat brothers playing. And I'm like, who is this on the phone? He's like, this is Dwayne Chapman. I'm like, I don't know no Dwayne Chapman, man. He's like, Dog the Bounty Hunter. I was like, oh, what's up? And it was just cool. And he was like, dude, you just keep filling up my inbox. We got like, I want to work with you now. And I was like, oh, for real? He was like, yeah, I'm going to come see you. And 3 weeks later, he came out it was my senior year of undergrad, and he came out and just hung out with me for 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, I can't remember. We was just running around doing bounties, kicking in doors, got pepper spray, had a bulletproof vest. They trained me, and it was cool. I loved it. I was like, I get to kick in doors and not get in trouble. And it's kind of fun, run around, chase people. And it was a cool little job for a minute, and I enjoyed my time, and I learned so much from him about the criminal justice system and how things really work, because it was a difference from law in books and law in action. And so just seeing the law in action was like, it was so disheartening just how the criminal justice system was working. But I learned so much from just having that opportunity and still like, pushing out there, because I didn't know he was going to hit me back or anything. I was like, hey, let me just email this guy. I emailed him in the morning when I woke up. I was emailing the same email. I just kept sending it over and over. I was like, eventually somebody going to see it, or, somebody going to say stop. But nobody ever said stop, so I kept going. I was like, why not? And it paid off for me. It got me a dope internship, and I was able to grow from that. And after working with Dog, I went on freelancing as a bounty hunter. And I started doing it on my own for like 1.5 years, working with different bail agencies. And I worked with some of the police out there in Kalamazoo who was like, just came up to me and was like, hey, I seen you on the bounty show. Like, I want to do some bounties with you. And I'm like, all right, I'm just a regular guy. Like, you a police officer. Like, why you want to run around with me? But it was fun. Like, it was just exciting just going into that world, and other people was kind of just coming into it, and it just started making me just grow as a person with just having more of a inspiration of just being in the criminal justice system. I was so inspired just from working as a bounty hunter and going, I want to see what other fields of the criminal justice system could I kind of fit myself into. So that's why I started looking at master programs, and I found UCI. And I was like, all right, let me go ahead and try this new journey, because I did bounty hunting, and it was fun, but it was just, I needed more. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It was like the best thing ever. I was making a lot of money, got to kick in doors, got to snatch people up. It was like a guy's dream to do, but it was just, I wanted more. I wanted to impact the criminal justice system more. So that's why I applied for my master's, and I came out this way to California. But doing bounty in California was different from Michigan. It was more corporate out here, so that was big, like, heartbreak for me when I came out here, because I was like, oh, it's so hard to be a bounty hunter out here because there's so many rules and laws, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it. And it didn't work out for me too much. I worked as a bail agent for a little bit out here, but it just wasn't exciting as I was. I ain't had that nostalgic no more. So I knew it was time for me to, like, start reaching into different areas. So started my master's.
I'm glad you talked about the dog bounty hunter part, because I'm sure everyone was curious about that. And I just, for the record, I have no interest in kicking in doors and or snatching people up, but I can appreciate that you would have gotten a lot from that experience. And one thing I think, I've talked to some of the students who are here tonight, and I'm sure this is true also of some of the alumni. I know people are from different fields. I met someone from computer science, and a few people from psychology and other fields. I'm sure there are people from across the campus here who also aren't particularly interested in kicking in doors and snatching people up. But one of the things that resonates, I think, about your story that I want to emphasize and I want to kind of build on a bit more is that you've had this sort of willingness to take chances, to sort of step into a situation like working with Dog the Bounty Hunter, which is a pretty extreme example, or enrolling in a relatively new program like the M.A.S. program at UCI, which doesn't have a long history. It's a respected program, but it's a relatively new program. But you took a leap of faith that you would be able to sort of gain something that would be enriching from these experiences. I wonder if you would just say a little bit about, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because when I talk to students oftentimes about, I ask them the question they get asked a million times, what are you going to do next? They take a deep breath, sometimes sink in their chair, they say, I don't know. And I oftentimes say, you have to be willing to leap into the unknown. It's an illusion that you're going to figure this out accurately from where you are now, because you have to have the experience. So I wonder if you'd say a bit about this, from your experience, the importance of being willing to take a chance on the unknown as it relates to your development as a person and professionally.
Going into the unknown. I say the best thing that happened to me was being uncomfortable. It's so easy for us to just stay comfortable into what we're doing in our daily lives, and I think that helped me out the most was just putting myself in uncomfortable situations, whether it was joining a master program in California and being from Detroit, or even going to undergrad where I was the first person from both sides of my family to go to university. It was just getting out there, and it's scary. It's the scariest thing ever. It's like, oh man, if I might fail or anything, but we notice a lot of times that we usually don't fail when we go at things that we want, whether it's graduating from high school or getting on a basketball team or anything, but we always got that doubt in the back of our mind, like, no, you're not good enough for this. And I had that a lot just with some of my family members was like, Dion, you can't go into university, you're going to owe $100,000 and you ain't going to be able to get nothing out of it. I do owe $100,000, but I was like, I got some things out of it though. And I was uncomfortable this whole time. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. If you're too comfortable into what you're doing, you usually don't find yourself being happy a lot of times, because it's like, all right, I done did the same thing over and over and I'm looking for something different. It's always good to keep it funky a little bit on what you want to do and find like side projects to do. And that's what I did. I started Googling. That was my biggest lifesaver. Like literally, I started Googling as I got closer to the end of my master program. Even before my master program was even closer, I was just Googling different things, like how to a criminologist. I was just Googling different parts of my program that I was interested in, and started seeing what opportunities they had to where I can help out with it. And that's what a lot of times we look on social media, on Instagram and everything, we fall in that rabbit hole looking at pictures, and we don't utilize like Google, where we can fall into that rabbit hole of just looking up opportunities that can be for us. And so that's what kind of helped me out a lot, just keeping myself uncomfortable in every step of the way. I never, like, once I feel like I done got, like, too comfortable with it and, like, I'm like, okay, cool, everything going good, I'm enjoying it. I always make sure I kind of switch it up a little bit, go do something different, whether it's, like, hiking or something. Just, it might just be something little, but I try to keep it different so I can always keep in my mind thinking about something new to where it might open up a new opportunity that I might be interested in doing or open up a new field. But staying uncomfortable is the best thing you can ever do when you're trying to get out of college.
Another thing that you've brought up that will resonate across experiences, whatever people's ambitions are, is the importance of mentorship. And I want to come back to that now and ask you to say a bit more about who has mentored you here at UCI and beyond. What has the value? Talk about the value of mentorship in your journey.
Mentorship has been my lifeline. Finding, like, looking for, and it wasn't that I was looking for mentors in my same field, because at first I was like, I got to find somebody in criminal justice or something, but you can find mentors in other fields that can still help you with just growing as a person, because they always got that knowledge. My first mentor when I got out to California was Buzz Doxy. He actually here today, and he work in finances, and I'm in criminal justice. So, but we built a bond, and some of the things I learned from him just with business and growing as a man and just as a business professional, it's always good to have somebody who is ready to just drop that knowledge on you. And they don't even got to be, super old or anything. They just got to be old enough to where, like, they can pass that knowledge to you. And some of my mentors at UCI, like Teresa Dalton was my main advisor through my program. And she literally, like, dropped knowledge. She's a criminologist in the same field as me. So it was just easier to get some of that knowledge from her, and it helped me out with just having another mentor inside of my field and passed off. But it's always good to have mentorship. Definitely would, like, take your life to a different level, because you just learn knowledge that you usually don't know or anything. And sometimes being millennials, we think we know a lot of things and think we know everything. I think I know everything sometimes, but sometimes we got to sit down and open our ears and listen.
I think it's time to open up. I was going to get a cue. Maybe it's not. Is it? We're going to open up for conversation, right? Is that right? Yeah. So we have. I can bring my mic around, and she has one. But if you want to ask a question, comment, join the conversation, now's the time to do that.
Hi, thank you so much for coming out and talking to us. You mentioned helping those who are incarcerated kind of reintegrate back into society. I was wondering if you've ever thought of kind of tackling the healthcare side of that, because actually at the UCI School of Medicine, they do have a group called Transitions in Health, where they do help those who are incarcerated kind of get back, get healthcare and provide them with free healthcare if they don't have insurance. I was wondering if you've ever considered that or thought about kind of tackling that.
No, I haven't considered that, but I would love to get more information about that.
Maybe we can talk. Maybe we can talk afterwards.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah, that definitely would help out. But that's definitely a good avenue to take when you attacking that issue, because that is a big part of it with healthcare and them getting out and having something. So I definitely would love to talk to you about that.
Great, thank you.
So, Dion, you were on this A&E special, right? You haven't said much about that, but what were some of your top learnings from being in prison for 60 days? Is that right?
60.
What were some of the things you got out of that really struck you?
Jail is dangerous. Do not go to jail, y'all. Some of the things I got out of that was that everybody are people. Like, everybody is people. Like, that's one of the things, like, that just being a criminal, being locked up, you can't treat somebody different because of their situation that they fell into. And that's one of the major things that I kind of brought out of there, because I was locked up in there and I was feeling a certain time. I'm like, oh man, I got all these criminals around me. Like, what I'm gonna do, somebody gonna hurt me or something. But then I started interacting with everybody, and I started realizing that, okay, they just like me. Like it's nothing different. We just got different situations and different problems that we ran into. So it really kind of helped me to be a little bit more human and just not kind of judge people a lot. Because I got into that judging a lot just from reading books and just doing the study, and you see somebody break the law, it's like, okay, you're bad. And like it actually helped me to get a better understanding a little bit of myself also. And another thing I learned from the jail was keep your mouth closed and your head down. That's one of the biggest things I did. I stayed to myself and kind of just kind of tried to build myself up in there. And I stayed away from a lot of people, but I guess once you just got some energy, people are always attracted to you and they want to just come talk to you and bring it all in, like, and see how you're doing and everything. But just really just finding out who yourself is, I think that's the biggest thing that kind of helped me survive in there and that I took away. I found out who I was from just being in there and what type of person I didn't want to be.
Any other questions?
So going off of that, how did you get involved with that? Did you sign up for the situation, or did they know of you before?
So when I got closer to graduation, after I finished probably like my first 8 months inside the program, I started like figuring out what I wanted to do with my career. So I started emailing different entertainment companies, different organizations, just to connect with them, because I was like, let me try this emailing thing again and work with dogs. So I haven't did it in a few years, so let me try it again. And I just started sending out email blasts about connecting on research, connecting on like just some of the things that I do with just being with social justice and with my Justice League consulting group. So I didn't really have justice, like my consulting group kind of already like established too much, but kind of created it and put like an email signature, made a website, made it look official. And then I just started emailing I probably emailed over like 50 to maybe 60 different companies, and then A&E hit me back and was like, hey, we'll fund you. And I was like, I am down, like, let's get it. And then once I got there, I was ready to go. But
Wait, to be clear, you emailed and said, I'm willing to go to prison for 60 days if you fund it and film it. Or what did the email say?
So the email said, do you want to make a change in the criminal justice system? Are you an advocate that want to help out and are opinionated? And I was like, I want to help out in the criminal justice system. I'm opinionated. And I was like, hey, look, I want to check out the program. So they didn't start off with the jail. So it wasn't, they started off, it came after, like, they talked about money first, and then it was like, well, you get compensated with this and this, and then next thing you know, you'll be in jail. And I was like, oh, like a fake jail, like we get to go in during activity time and hang out, and I get to go to the hotel. And it was like, not necessarily. And then, so like, we kind of got deeper into it, and then I found out I was actually living there. I was thinking, like, they can't really have nobody live in jail, so they might just be faking, like, playing with me or something. It might be some TV magic. No. They put me in the cuffs, put me in. I didn't see the crew for like the first 5 days, and it was like my heart dropped. I say my second day, it was a race riot that was that was brewing inside the pod, and I didn't see no camera crew. I didn't see anybody. I'm like, I'm gonna come get me. But it was a profound experience though, just being in there and seeing how I'd never do it again. Like never. Like it took me probably like 3 to 4 months to kind of just psychologically come back from it, because you get aggressive in there. And that's one thing I started seeing while I was in there. I started getting real aggressive, and I started actually like kind of punking some of the inmates. Like I started picking on people after a while. And then the TV show ended up, like, the producers pulled me out after a while, called my mom on me. It was like, Dion is being too aggressive in here. So my mom called and yelled at me. It was like, Dion, are you picking on people in there? And I was like, no, Ma, I swear, honest, I'm not. And she was like, yes, you are. They tell me you acting a fool. And I was like, all right, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm ready to get out of here. Because you get to, like, after being in there 24/7, it wasn't no activity time or anything. So you get to forget who you are because it's gray walls and bright white light and there's no windows. So I never knew what time it was outside or anything. We didn't have no clocks. So I lost track of time. Like the whole day felt like a week in there. So it just started kind of transform me a little bit psychologically. And I came out real aggressive. Like I couldn't even talk with people sometimes because I was just like feeling like kind of like Debo a little bit. It was just like I was hardcore. I was just like, yeah, y'all better sit down over here. I'm like, I'm not in jail. My bad, bro. Like, I'm just telling random people, and it's just like it builds you up in there. You get that testosterone from being around a bunch of guys. And
let me ask you a difficult question. I mean, so for me, I'm a sociologist. I'm fundamentally interested in problems of racial injustice, and one of the concerns I have about sort of popular culture engagement with the area of crime and justice is then one is the sensationalizing of crime and sort of spectacle that's been created around it. I think about Cops and Dog the Bounty Hunter and the prison shows and Lockup, Thailand, et cetera. And I worry about how those depictions kind of weaken our commitments to things like human and civil rights. I mean, you mentioned, for example, how your sense of the humanity of these folks who are incarcerated was informed by your experience in the show. But are you concerned that the things you want to accomplish, for example, through Justice League Consulting Group, may be undermined by some of these media treatments of offenders in prisons and so forth, in particular in the ways that they feed this kind of public fear and sentiment that these are dangerous people who we need to sort of keep away from us? Or do you worry that there's a conflict between those two things that you've been involved in?
Definitely. And that's one of the things like that kind of took me away from just being a little bit with the entertainment industry, just because media portrays the people as animals and that it was just so, it was going to be rough and terrible and that somebody was going to snatch me up as soon as I get in there. And that's what I was thinking just from seeing all the shows, because I've never been incarcerated before. And just from seeing media, how the news portrayed it. And with the show, it did a little bit of that same thing also once I finally seen the final edit of it. And it is disheartening. It's definitely taken away when media try to portray everybody as criminal, as animals and savages once you go to jail. It take away from the work of trying to get them reintegrated back into the community and make them back human beings and productive citizens when, we're seeing that just bashing on the news. So it definitely, like entertainment, for sure takes away because they want to see excitement. They want to see something entertaining. They want to see people get hurt. That's the thing that they look for, and it definitely, it's disheartening seeing that and being a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe Justice League Consulting Group is an avenue by which you can advise media on these kinds of issues. I mean, you have a kind of credibility that many people don't. Are there other questions?
My question is similar in topic. I'm curious as to how Justice League Consulting actually integrates people back into society, because we talked about it a lot. But what steps do you take for these people and for, like, say, employers, for example? Do you talk to them to try to get them jobs in society again? What process look like for you?
So right now, I connect with other organizations to help out to where we go in and we sometimes talk with the M.A.S and we teach, like sometimes we might teach how to start a business. We're just giving like basic tools, whether it's come from LLC to open you up a business account and just even putting together a little miniature business plan to help you with that. So I done connected with a few other organizations to go inside the jails, and with the 60 days in, I connected through Justice League. So it helped me as an avenue where we wrote, like I did a 25-page report after we left out of there on different ways that they can change the culture inside of the jail. So we go in and we try to do something different with them, but now I'm working on a program to where we're gonna start helping with the reintegration back into society, because think about it, when we get out of school, we celebrate, we have a graduation or anything. When you get out of jail, that's almost an accomplishment. It's like a school in some way, and you gotta like celebrate their rehabilitation. And that's what I started to see through a lot of my research, that we don't celebrate it. It's like you go into jail, then you get right back out, and it's just that, and you go right back into the same thing. But picture if you're getting a certificate once you're getting out of jail, and you feel like, okay, I'm actually rehabilitated, like I got something I can look up to, got something I can look forward to. I can use this like certificate to kind of help me out with being a better professional and learning. So I definitely, that's one of the part of the things Justice League is trying to expand on and kind of get into that area to where how can we get them integrated back, and we want to start not really celebrating being locked up, but celebrating accomplishing their rehabilitation and making it through it.
Any other questions?
Hi, Dion. You mentioned that you, after 60 days, you really noticed a difference in your persona, your aggression. Then you leave. Are you able to maintain a relationship with any of the people that you met there? And when you do maintain that relationship, is there aggression that comes back out, or is it something that you're now able to mentor them out of, that aggression?
It was, I don't interact with anybody from the show, just for, they said for safety reasons, they didn't want us really interacting with anybody from it. I would love to, just because I met a lot of good people that I wouldn't mind passing on some knowledge to, but it definitely, if I was to go back and talk with some people, it would be pretty emotional. It'd be an emotional thing just to even kind of talk with them and kind of have those thoughts come back up, because being locked up with somebody, you kind of build a real deep relationship with them because you're with them 24/7. So I would love to kind of interact with some of the people that I was in there and get some knowledge, but I know it'd be a real emotional kind of connection once we get back to talking and just seeing how they doing in life and everything, and just talking about the experience that we had in there, because it is a bonding experience being in jail.
We'll take one more question.
Dion, what's good? Feeling your vibes, man. Very charismatic and everything. I was wondering, since you're doing a lot of change and you're advocating, and you just graduated, what are you gonna do for the next 10 years?
Ooh, for the next 10
Yeah, what's your
years.
blueprint?
Ooh, okay, for the next 10 years, I want to start off traveling. I want to get some more traveling in and experiencing more cultures. I feel like it'll be a big key to me with my advocacy and helping out, just experience how other cultures deal with their criminal justice system. Because through research, I've seen just a lot of other countries got lower recidivism rates than us and incarceration rates. So I just want to travel a little bit more within the next, hopefully 4 to 5 years, and then just constantly build myself up as a criminologist. That's always going to be my main goal. And I say closer to like the 8 or 9 year mark, I think I want to get a little bit political. Try to get in a little bit more politics and get into more policy. Like get deep into it, and might do some official stuff eventually. I don't know for sure yet, but I know I want to travel more and just get deeper into the criminal justice system for these next few years. Just get out here.
So if not 2020, then 2024, is that what we hear?
2024, right?
All right, well, that does it for questions. I want to please join me, everyone, in thanking Jeff Ward and Dion Shepherd for an amazing program. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good.